Greetings, warriors, veterans, and America-loving citizens from sea to shining sea. Welcome to Frontlines of Freedom, this Thanksgiving weekend show. I'm Colonel Denny Gillum. Hoo-wah! The Frontlines of Freedom team really appreciate you joining us this fine day in America. Here's what we have for you this hour. We're going to begin talking with Scott Spiker about our military's new retirement system. Then we'll meet a combat veteran running for Congress in Oklahoma, Andy Coleman, and then Dr. Noel Tichy will tease us with his look at his approach to leadership. He'll be starting a series on that very thing next year. Naturally, we'll cover Service Academy football. Of course, we'll conclude with our weekly mailbag military history and our Armed America report. Troops, I welcome your comments and questions. Contact me through frontlinesoffreedom.com. Now it's time to learn about the military's new retirement system. Joining us is Scott Spiker, the CEO of First Command. Scott's a Naval Academy grad and a financial planner. Welcome to Frontlines of Freedom, Scott.
Great to be here, Denny.
Scott, tell us about your time in the Navy. Obviously, you went to the academy. What'd you do when you got out?
I was a surface warfare officer. I served on the USS Stein when it was deployed a couple times in the Indian Ocean, Western Pacific as we call it. Some of that time was during the hostage crisis in Iran. So had a pretty interesting sea career, but it was brief. 3 years there, went into recruiting, didn't know how to get a real job, so I decided to go get an MBA from the best school I could get into, and I graduated from University of Chicago with an MBA in 1984.
So when you got out of the service, you went into financial planning. Is that something you'd been sort of interested in most of your life, or where'd that come from?
I went generally into financial services, and I started out working for banks, and then I went to bigger banks, then I went into investment management within the trust world, then I went to broker-dealers, then I wandered into health insurance for a while, running a health insurance company in Chicago. 10 years ago, I was recruited to come back to First Command as the CEO, and I've been here since. Our company focuses on financial planning, principally for military folks. We have 170 offices all over the United States, typically where there's a military base, and we have offices in Germany, Great Britain, and Guam, serving our troops that are deployed in those places.
Scott, talk to us about military benefits in general and how the new military retirement system fits in. And work into that, please. In your opinion, is this a good move for military people, or is it just one we're going to get stuck with?
Great. The big thing that's changing, and probably the most important thing to pay attention to for your listeners, is the retirement system itself. We have had what we would characterize as a traditional pension plan for service members for the last 80 years. The beauty of it is it's simple. You can understand it. You are taken care of based on the service you provide. Unfortunately, there have not been benefits for those people that get out of service before serving a full 20 or a disability. And so a presidential commission a few years ago set out to create a new retirement system. I'm going to make a statement that is a little bit pejorative, and let's just say that the intention of this new retirement system is to save the government money over the long term. So it is transferring some of the risk to the service member, and that is a burden that they have not been accustomed to.
Yeah, it's certainly not one that I ever had to deal with, but I've been retired 30-something years. This is Colonel Denny Gillum on Frontlines of Freedom. We're discussing our military's new retirement system with Scott Spiker. Go ahead, Scott.
So the thing that you'd have to understand is if you're serving today, and that's going to be most of your folks, and you are under 12 years of service, you have an option. You can either keep the old plan or you can opt for the new plan. This is a very important decision, and you need to study it carefully. My rough thumbnail sketch of how you might think about it, if you are determined that you are going to make the military career, you just know that is in your blood, and you're doing well on your evaluations and you look like you're tracking along nicely, my best advice would be to take the old retirement system. It is rich, it's simple, and it will provide better, more infallible benefits for you through the rest of your life. If, however, you're like me, who knew he was going to get out after 5 years of service post-academy, and you know that that's your plan, then my encouragement would be to take the new system, to make sure that you max out your contribution to the thrift savings plan. You know, make sure you're getting at least 5% into that plan so that you can get the full match, and you will have a benefit that is portable and follows you when you get out of service. The complex equation, Denny, is for those folks that are not yet certain as to what their plans are, and goodness knows you and I both know there were a lot of those that we encountered in our career. And there, I think you need to sit down with somebody and work the math out. There are several calculators online. We have an application. First Command Financial Services has an application. Moreover, our advisors would be glad to sit down with folks and go through a very extensive calculator that we've built to take them through the various options to help them come to a conclusion. Old plan versus new plan. I like this plan for those that don't seek to serve for a long-term period of time. If, however, you are the 1/6 that is determined to make military service a career, I'm not quite as optimistic. I think what you would want to make sure that you're doing is look at all of the decisions that happen at each stage of your career where there is a financial incentive from Department of Defense, and be very sure you're making the right decision. A lot of us can't do that by ourselves, which is why a company like ours is in existence. Here, let me give you a few examples. There's 4 or 5 key decision points through a career if you choose this new plan. Number 1, make sure you get the full match. You've got to make sure you've got 5% of your money going in order to get that free gift of the government match. Number 2, make sure you are investing aggressively enough. This is a retirement plan, and if you choose to invest in very safe instruments, then you're not going to have the benefit of long-term returns. So take some risk in these plans. Third thing, there's an element of this plan called the continuation bonus by DOD. I abhor that name because people spend bonuses. If you're going to do well and be as well off as the previous retirement plan, you want to take that money and keep it in the thrift savings plan for the rest of your life. You want to make sure that that is in there and that is with some risk on investments, earning on either a tax-deferred or a tax-free basis, whether you choose a Roth IRA or not. So make that decision. Know that if for some reason you take that continuation pay and then you do not fulfill the 4-year service obligation that goes, you have to pay it back. And if you've blown that money, you're paying it back on a pre-tax basis, which means it's going to be pretty expensive for you.
Scott, that kind of planning that you're talking about is a thing that I was never any good at, and that's why I needed, after I got out of the military, to find a good guy like you to help me, because I didn't have to worry about it. I had one choice for retirement, and I liked it, and I got it, and I'm still drawing it. But once I got into the real world, which is what you're talking about, everybody's going to be in right now, you need somebody who knows what the heck they're doing that pays attention to this stuff, because it changes every day. I wish we could continue this conversation, but we're about out of time. Scott, if listeners want to reach out to you and get some help, hit me, Denny, at frontlinesoffreedom.com. Tell me you want to get in touch with Scott. I'll take care of it. Scott, thank you for taking time to join us today. Thank you for your service to our nation, and thank you for the service to the military people serving right now today. Thank you for that service. It's badly needed. I appreciate you, brother. Oh, and one final thing, beat Navy.
We'll see you at the football game, Denny.
It's a deal. I'm Colonel Denny Gillum. Next up, we'll talk with a combat veteran running for Congress in midterm. Then we'll get a taste of the leadership insights that we'll begin sharing weekly starting next year. You've reported for duty to Frontlines of Freedom. Hit the deck and do an easy, slow 30 one-handed push-ups with each hand. I want you lean and mean.